guys, it's Nat, and today I thought I would do a romance book recommendations because romance is one of my favorite genres and I have done these videos in the past and you guys seem to enjoy them. So I have another 6 books to recommend you all today. Some are kind of from like the same series because I just couldn't decide which book was my favorite, but all of these can be read as standalones. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get on into the romance book recommendations. So the first one is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. So in this one we follow Olive, who is a third year PhD student, and she basically has to trick her best friend Anne that she is over her ex because her best friend Anne is kind of in love with her ex-boyfriend, but Olive doesn't mind, and to prove that she is over him, she has to like show that she's into someone else, so she kisses the first person she sees in the hallway. That ends up being Adam, who is kind of like this young hotshot professor that's also known on campus as a huge ass. So yeah, they end up having this fake dating thing, and yeah, feelings evolve as always with fake dating. So I was actually very surprised by this book because at first I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be for me, but then I gave the audiobook a shot. So I do highly recommend the audiobook if you want an audiobook to listen to. But yeah, I really enjoyed Adam and Olive's meet cute, which actually happened in Olive's first year of university, so like 3 years before. Like, that was just so unexpected and I just really appreciated it, and we could like kind of see why Adam agreed to do this fake dating thing with Olive later on. So yeah, the meet cute was perfect. I'm actually not a fan of Star Wars, but I have heard that this is kind of like a fanfic of Kylo and Rey from Star Wars. So if you are into Star Wars and you want to read about that kind of relationship, then give this book a shot if you haven't already. So I quite like the setting of this book because it is set in university and follows like PhD students and professors. So that was very interesting, and it's kind of like part of STEM, so it is like science based. So it was very interesting to see like them doing all these hypotheses and like experiments. I really enjoyed like the plot, like the pace of the story, and just like how the romance progressed. And I did really enjoy Adam's and Olive's characters, and I did really also enjoy like all the other characters and like the problem that we always have in romance. Like, that was super interesting to read about and like how it was resolved. So yeah, if you're looking for a fast-paced book, look no further. Just give The Love Hypothesis a shot because it might surprise you like it did surprise me. The next book is A Favor for a Favor by Helena Hunting. So this is actually the second book in the All-In series, but of course you can read all these books as standalones. They just follow different like people in the Seattle NHL, so like the hockey league, and I'm a big fan of hockey romances. So in this one we follow Bishop, who is newly appointed as one of the players in the Seattle's NHL expansion team, and Stevie, who ends up moving into Bishop's team's captain's apartment, and they're basically how they meet. It's like at midnight, Stevie comes in, she's had a terrible day, she can't open the door. Bishop comes out and he's like, what the hell is going on? Like, my captain's married, who is this woman trying to get in? So at first he ends up thinking Stevie is a mistress, but of course that is not the case. Stevie ends up being the team captain's younger sister, and yeah, Bishop ends up having an injury, so that puts him off from playing for a couple of weeks. And since Stevie is kind of like a rehab person, she decides to offer her services to him so she can like expand her client list, so it's not just her brother on the client list. And yeah, Bishop ends up like kind of falling for her and trying to not put his hands on her as she's rehabbing him. It was actually quite hilarious to read about, but oh my god, this book is so good. I remember when I picked it up, I could not put it down, and I think I stayed up till like 4 a.m. again reading. So you know, that's a good romance book if it does that to you. So yeah, like their chemistry between like Bishop and Stevie was there from the moment they met. Like, even when Bishop came out in his underwear to see what the ruckus was about, like what he was causing all this chaos at midnight, and then he was just like so like out of it, and he was so rude to Stevie, but you could still feel the sexual tension and just like the chemistry. So oh my god, I loved it. They're both their own characters, Bishop and Stevie. They don't take shit from anyone, so I just really love that about them. And yeah, just the plot of the story and everything else that happened, I just loved it so much. And as I said, I am a sucker for NHL romances, so if you are too, definitely give this series a go because it is so good. And then the second book is actually the third book in the All-In series by Helena Hunting, and it is A Secret for a Secret. I just couldn't like decide which one is my favorite, but in this one we follow Ryan Kingston, who has always been a rule follower. So he's like the guy that rarely drinks, like he doesn't actually like drinking, he always drives the speed limit, like he's always very considerate of others. But then one day he finds out that his whole existence has been a lie, and he goes a little bit loose. So he gets drunk, picks up a stranger and like sleeps with her, and the stranger ends up being Queenie. She just leaves him like a note saying thank you or something, and then 6 weeks later they meet again because Queenie ends up being the general managers of the NHL Seattle team daughter, and she ends up working for him. So Kingston is just like, what is going on? And yeah, they end up like just moving on their relationship. And oh my god, Ryan Kingston is one of the cutest guys I've ever read about. He is so sweet, like he literally even asks Queenie's father, because he has such respect for his general manager, and also he knows that her dad might not be into her dating like hockey players. Like he actually asks for permission, and I thought that was the cutest thing ever. I don't think I've ever seen that in a romance book. So like just reading about that, like oh my god. And then Queenie kind of like takes him out of his comfort zone. I love all the dilemmas and like problems Queenie had because she was dealing with so much, and I could relate because she was just having like an existential crisis, and like Ryan there just helping her out. Oh my god, so good. I always see that people always say it's either for them a favor for a favor or like a secret for a secret, and I still can't decide because both couples are so different, but like I love them so much. Oh, so good. Then the next book is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. So I actually really love this book. I reread it quite a lot. So it is basically an office-based romance that's enemies to lovers, which usually I'm not a fan of, but this one just is the icing on the cake because it's also a comedy. So we follow Josh and Lucy. They both work as assistants to the CEOs or COOs, I can't remember, of a publishing house called, what was it called? Bexley and Gammon. And basically this is a complete opposites attract. Lucy is kind of like loved by everyone. She's kind of a pushover a little bit, and then Josh is like a guy that everyone is scared of and intimidated by. And yeah, basically they always sit opposite each other, and since they work at a publishing house, they work incredibly long hours. So they've developed this kind of game where one always has to win over the other, and like there's a staring game, there's like so many different games they play. And then one day they have a earth-shattering kiss in an elevator, and then Lucy believes that maybe she was wrong about Josh. And then yeah, basically the story goes on from there. I love this book so much. There's a movie to go with it, so if you finish reading the book you can watch the movie. And yeah, I just really loved it. Like Josh is kind of not typically a character that I would love to read about in a romance, but I have kind of noticed I do like the cold guy, but then he ends up being like super cute in the end, in my opinion anyway. But yeah, I just really love it, and I reread it constantly because there's so many just cute scenes, like the wedding scene that they like attend. Oh, like I just love it so much. So if you still haven't read this book, I highly recommend it because it's one that will make you laugh out loud, and also, you know, you have a movie to watch after once you fall in love with this book. The next book is The Romantic Pact by Meghan Quinn. So this is a road trip, friends to lovers romance that is set in the winter time in Germany. So I love that already because I feel like usually road trips are set in like America or something. This one is set in Germany and we follow Crew and Hazel. So Crew's grandfather passes away, calls him Pops, and yeah, Crew's Pops like arranges this trip to Germany for both Crew and his best friend Hazel, who he hasn't spoken to in the last 3 years after like they had their kiss. And yeah, they basically go on the road trip together and it's just such a cute time for them because like how Pops structured the trip was kind of like how he and his wife, who passed away as well, like took it when they were younger, and it was just so cute. Oh my god, you have no idea how much I appreciated reading about Germany in the winter time because I just kept making lists of things to do, places to visit, like it was just so adorable. And basically Crew and Hazel, when they were younger, because they've been friends for a long time, they made kind of this pact that they weren't gonna fall in love, that they weren't gonna take their friendship from friends to a romantic relationship. But of course that ends up kind of like not happening. They end up breaking the pact, but I loved it so much. I loved seeing all the dilemmas that they were going through and like their problems. Like in the end, you don't just read about their road trip in Germany, you also read about them and what's going to happen when they go back home. I just really loved it, and yeah, I highly recommend you guys pick this up, especially in the winter time. I read it around December time and it was perfect because it gets you in the winter Christmassy vibe. So yeah, The Romantic Pact by Meghan Quinn, highly recommend. And this is part of a series, but every book is written by a different author and you can read it out of order because that's what I did and I wasn't lost at all. And then the last book, I thought I would recommend you guys a book that I have already recommended in a romance book recommendations video, but I just realized this past year how much I love this book. Whenever I'm sad, whenever I'm down, whenever I just want to read something comforting, I seem to always gravitate towards this book. You have no idea how many times I have reread it, and that is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by MARIANA Zapata. So this book is over 500 pages long. It's a slow burn romance between Vanessa and Aiden, who is known as the Wall of Winnipeg. So we basically follow Vanessa. She has been kind of an assistant, fairy godmother, housekeeper to Aiden, but she knew that this was temporary. She has other plans and is basically not to go to work and work for someone that doesn't really appreciate her. He doesn't even say like hello to her, good morning, happy birthday. So she basically quits one day. She already has like a plan of what she's gonna do, but then who comes knocking on her door? Aiden, saying that he wants her to come back, but he also has a different proposition. So she's not going to come back as an assistant, but as something else. So yeah guys, he basically realizes that he needs Vanessa in his life. And yeah, I absolutely love this book. The slow burn is a killer, but in a good way. Like it is just so good. I absolutely love Vanessa, which is a plus because the whole book is from her perspective, which is kind of like negative as well because I would have loved to see what goes on inside Aiden's head. But at the same time, I feel like throughout the story you really get to see how their relationship grows and like how Aiden in his own way shows that he actually does care for Vanessa. And yeah, I absolutely love like Zach, who is like the roommate, and like seeing him and like just how Vanessa progresses throughout the story as a character. Like I really appreciate it. And yeah, this book has literally all the tropes I love in a romance, so I won't actually spoil it because I didn't know about one of the tropes until I actually read the book. So yeah, go into it if you still haven't read it with with knowing the bare minimum. And yeah, I hope you guys really do enjoy this book. I also highly recommend the audio version because that's what I read it as for the first time, but I've been rereading it on my Kindle because I just always go back and highlight even more and more. One day I'm gonna open the ebook and it's gonna be all highlighted because I'm a hoe for Vanessa and Aiden. And also I forgot to mention that Aiden is a football player, so if you love a sports romance, highly recommend if you haven't picked it up. But yeah guys, that is it for my romance book recommendations. Let me know if you want me to do any more romance recommendations or any other book recommendations. Just let me know down below and I can do that for you. And yeah, let me know down below your favorite romance books, as I would love to know, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!